Good morning, everyone. As a reminder, please turn off or silence your cell phones. You are attending the Animal Matters Commission hearings for July 7th, 2025. The Animal Matters Commission was established and is conducted in accordance with Article 12 of the Anne Arundel County Code. These are administrative hearings, and by nature, they are informal, which means you are not hampered by rules of evidence. However, please be aware that you are still testifying under oath. Each party will have their opportunities to state their case. After each party states their case, they will have an opportunity to ask questions of the other party. Please do not interrupt the other party. You will be given ample time to talk. In many cases, we are aware that there is a history. You may briefly tell the commission about the history. However, please focus on the issue at hand. After each case, the commission will have open deliberations. During these deliberations, the public may not participate. If the commissioners have an additional question, you may answer that question. No further information will be heard and a decision will be rendered. This decision is a recommendation to the Director of Animal Services or their representative. The recommendation of the commission will be taken into consideration, and a final decision will be made by the Director of Animal Services or their designated representative. If, as the defendant in the case, you are unhappy with the decision of the commission, you may appeal. For citation cases, appeals are made through the District Court of Maryland. For administrative orders like potentially dangerous, and vicious order, appeals are made through the County Board of Appeals. Be advised that when we are discussing cruelty cases, the commission is not voting to return the animals to the owner right away. If the commission votes for the owner to have the animals back, they will have to wait until their district court cases are adjudicated. Autumn, please call the first case.
All right, so I'm actually presenting the first case, but I'm going to get everyone on, and then Officer Firmer is going to be the one that swears us all in. So
Thank
if you are a participant in the case of the Department of Animal Services versus Montoya, please use the raise hand function at this time so I can promote you to panelist. And then we get everyone's cameras on and unmute. Ms. Montoya, if you could start your video and unmute yourself. Okay, perfect. I'm going to switch it over to Officer Firmer.
My mom is here. Is it okay if I try to pay for her?
Yes.
For the party speaking, could you please raise your right hand and keep your hand raised?
Let's keep my mano derecha.
Do you declare and affirm under penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Let's get this. Yes.
Yes.
Just one at a time.
And one at a time, please state your name and address for the record.
Aaron Setter.
No sé cómo decir tu nombre. Araceli Montoya.
And your address.
And then this is Autumn Kiefler, 411 Maxwell Fry Road, Millersville, Maryland, 21108. All right,
And I'm now going to ask that everyone use their mute function when you are not the party speaking, and I will now turn things over to Chairman Cohen.
Thank you. So, Autumn, you are the officer on this case.
Yes.
Do you want to go ahead and tell us about it, please?
Yes. So it is a little bit lengthy, so I just ask everyone to bear with me. If you need me to stop or I'm talking too fast, just tell me that. I know last time I spoke really fast, so just let me know. But on June 10th, 2025, Miss Montoya called me prior to her court hearing at 1 p.m. in courtroom 1 to ask about the citations that were issued to her and if she could be afforded a payment plan. I advised her that any citations already at district court would have to be heard before a judge. I stated that I could work a payment plan for the other citations that had not been sent down. She asked how much everything was, including the citations that were to be presented at court, and everything was a total amount of $350 for all 7. On that same day, Ms. Montoya pleaded guilty before Judge Butcher to 4 counts of animal running at large for citations that occurred on September 18th, 2024. That same day, she came to the Department of Animal Services to pay for the citations she pled guilty for and the remaining citations that were filed against her. As she had missed the time frame to appeal any of those citations, she did not want them to go down to district court. At that time, Ms. Montoya pled guilty and paid for citations for the 4 counts of animal running at large on September 18th, 2024, 1 count of animal disturbance on February 19th, 2025, and 2 counts of animal running at large for the incidents that occurred on April 11th, 2025. In addition to the guilty charges, Ms. Montoya has 5 more charges pending for failure to provide food and water for the incidents that occurred on April 11th, where 1 German Shepherd male was impounded pending return only after they made the necessary changes for the animals. It was also noted at that visit, Officer Lyles noted that there was at least 5 dogs, 1 with a warning letter, several cats, and she owns birds. These incidents have been ongoing and occurring for several years. The Department of Animal Services has tried to work with Ms. Montoya, given her several warnings, recommendations, and more. It took almost 7 months just to have her served with her charges, as Ms. Montoya and those that live with her avoid us at all cost. We were finally able to get her served and with all of her charges on April 13th, 2025. When the 20 days were up, we worked with the Office of Law to get a court date for adjudication of these events. I would like to note Ms. Setters, who is here, is a former neighbor. In addition to our efforts to work with her, the neighbors, they suffered the most. The animals, both cats and dogs, would jump the fence daily into their yards, chase after animals and people. It became so much for Ms. Setters that her and her husband made the decision to sell their home and find somewhere else to live due to these circumstances and for the safety of their child. This not only uprooted their entire life, but put them in a more costly position to be away from Miss Montoya and her animals. Even though she is left and they no longer live there, the rest of the neighborhood have to deal with Miss Montoya's animals. Miss Davis, who couldn't be here today, or she is here today. Jackie, she is a witness in this case. Can we bring her in?
Yes, let's go ahead and do that.
Tamika, could you unmute yourself for me, please?
Good morning.
You raise your right hand for me. Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Can you please state your name and address for the record?
Tamika White Days, address 245 West Meadow Road, Brooklyn, Maryland, 21225.
Jackie, is it okay if I proceed?
Yes, please.
Yes. Although Ms. Setters and her family left, the rest of the neighbors have been left to deal with Ms. Montoya's animals. Ms. Dias, who's here, has been the current neighbor who has been most affected by these animals continue to run at large, cause a public nuisance, and present as a public safety threat chasing after cats in her yard in an attempt to attack. It was decided on June 17th, 2025, after much discussion at our department, that Ms. Montoya be deemed a reckless owner. Letters were provided and served her in which she appealed, which is why we are here today. The Department of Animal Services stands by their decision in that Ms. Montoya should not own any animals for the next 4 years and maintain the reckless owner designation.
Is
That's
that
all I
it,
have.
Autumn?
Yes.
Thank you. I do have a question. What changes were needed to be done that you gave to Ms. Montoya during this whole process?
So I can actually pull that up. It's from the evidence folder. So on April 11th, we were called out because that is when all of the dogs were just jumping the fence. Let me share my screen with you. Share. All right. So let me get this. Let me get to the specific date. So this is when it was raining. You can see all of the animals. They've been outside for a long period of time, unattended. That was where they were living in the back yard for the entire day that they were out. So it was completely covered in clutter, mess, trash, as you can see. Just more trash in the backyard. There's a food bowl at the bottom of the steps that was completely empty. Let me see if I can get that one to play. This is where the dogs were sleeping outside with no owner or adult present for a long period of time. So those were the changes that needed to be made. The area had to be cleaned up. They had to show that they had food and water for all of the dogs. And when Officer Lyles went to do an inspection on, I believe, April 13th, they had cleaned everything up and they had food and water for the animals.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone else have any questions for Autumn? Okay, then in that case, Ms. Montoya, would you like to tell us about why you're appealing the designation of reckless owner? And I understand is it your daughter who is going to translate for you?
Yeah, I'm gonna translate for my mom. You want to see her or you want to see me?
Can you all sit closer to each other?
I'll just stand next to
And what is your name?
Lillian Vargas Montoya.
Thank you, Lillian, for being here today with us.
Mm-hmm.
And go ahead.
Okay.
Ya lo tenemos, ya.
So we did this appeal because we were eventually gonna give away the dogs, and we already gave away the dogs that were jumping the gates and everything. Panther already left. Scorpio already left. Elliot, the cat that was fighting with other cats, left. Boots already left too. So mostly we don't have any of those dogs. The only dogs that we have in our house and currently is only Princess and ¿cómo se llama? Alacrán. Those are the only two dogs.
Son de tu cuñado, los dos chiquitos.
And we have two small dogs, but they're my cousins. He's gonna take them today.
I got a point of order, Jackie. If I'm not sure the daughter here was sworn in specifically and she was going to translate, she seems to be testifying rather than translating. I'm not hearing any dialogue from the mother here. So would that be proper?
Thank you, Tom. That's a really good question. Autumn, did we get Lillian sworn in?
I'm going to do that now just to be on the safe
Okay.
side.
No, I mean, I'm fine with her testimony. She lives there and all, but I just want to make sure if she's translated,
Yeah.
it's a different thing, right?
No, my mom, no. We had spoken before this, and I'm just telling you what she told me before we had the Zoom meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, Lillian, we're going to get you sworn in properly, and then you can continue.
Okay.
You can raise your right hand for me.
Yep.
Do you swear and affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
If you could state your name and address for the record.
Lillian Vargas, 241 West Meadow Road, Brooklyn, Maryland.
Okay.
I'm sorry, please continue. Like I said, I just want to make sure that was all good to go. Thank you.
Thank
Okay.
you, Tom. And Autumn, we should probably make a note there in our minutes that that Lillian is speaking for her mother and relating her story for her rather than just translating.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
¿Y quieres decir algo tú para
Ajá.
que les diga?
Pues, ¿qué es lo que dijeron? Es que a mí me tienen que explicar, porque yo no puedo hablar sin de
Bueno,
lo que me
están
preguntan.
hablando de los animales.
Ujú.
Que si tú quieres decir algo de los
Pues yo
animales.
lo que quiero es de que no me pongan ese castigo de 4 años, porque realmente yo sé que los perros se han saltado la yarda, pero yo he pagado eso.
Yeah, she said that she wouldn't like if you guys put the 4 year thing, cause honestly, when we had to pay the citations, we were really not in a good state, so we had to pay that from out of my mom's money, and usually when we work, uh, we don't have enough money, like even for like sometimes for our food, but we had to pay that, and then we had to like work even harder for the rent and everything. Obviously, my mom has enough money to buy dog food, cat food, and bird food. My mom always thinks about them first than us. And obviously, we know from the photos you guys presented, um, all that trash and everything. But like,
Ahí se
yeah,
limpió, yo no
my
entiendo.
dad and my cousin, they're always cleaning. And sometimes when it's raining, we can't really clean outside
Porque ellos, los perritos,
because you know how
ellos,
small dogs are,
ah,
right? If they see like a little bag of trash, they will
ellos
come
rompen
rip it, and then all the trash is gonna be outside. So my dad would always try to clean, or my cousin, he would always try to clean outside, and then those like you see the wood that was outside. My dad just has that there, like because we did fix the fence. Um, he fixed the fence in front, and then he put like a mini fence, like where the people were taking photos. I should have took photos of that and presented it there, but I forgot. But he did fix that because my dad didn't want problems. I know mm, maybe some of the neighbors have tried to communicate with my dad, but like being honest here, my dad isn't really a talkative person, and I do recognize that my dad is a very aggressive person, and he probably could have like talked very badly to the neighbors.
no digas que es agresivo tu papá. No, pero-
And also, the times that animal control have come to our house, usually me, my mom, and my sister were working. So whenever they would come, we wouldn't be there. And my dad also, he would leave early. So there wouldn't be anyone in the house.
Ellos tienen animales también y uno no anda haciéndole problemas. Porque aquí hay muchos perros que ladran aquí, y sus gatos tú no los ves, jamás sus perros. Se nos fueron encima hace poco los perritos que llegaron a latirnos y nosotros no le provocamos problemas. Yo, pues, a ellos.
Yeah. She said that honestly she doesn't want any problems with the neighbors. Um there's a dog and like that lives in front of us, and
Igual de
he's always
vecinos.
barking, but
Ujú.
we don't say nothing. And yeah, we understand that our problem was more bigger because our dogs got out our yard and was doing bark at people, probably bit someone, but those dogs are already gone from here. ¿Quieres decir algo?
Pues sí que los vecinos que dicen que se fueron por nuestra culpa, pues ellos eran muy amigos míos. Realmente yo nunca pensé que ellos se fueran porque yo les hacía problema.
Yeah. And she said that the neighbors that left, supposedly they were our friends, and Well, they never told us that they were leaving because of our dogs. They never told us.
Y yo lo siento mucho.
Yeah,
Sí, por eso se fueron.
she's well, a part of her, she said that she's very sorry if they left because of that.
Okay, Lillian, can you step over a little bit more so that you're in the camera? Thank you very much. So how many animals do you have there now?
Okay, so and dogs, we have Princess and Alacran. So only two, because the other two are leaving today. We have cats. We only have
Solo una, Liliana. Ellos
Sol
solo.
and Sole
Los
and
otros dos son de mi prima Liliana, no son
pero
mías.
están en esta casa. And ¿cómo se llama?
Se llama Soledad, una.
And Luna.
Luna.
Yeah. And then our birds. Do you want me to count the birds?
Well, tell me, how many cats is that?
Three cats.
Three.
Two.
Okay. And then how many birds and what kind are they?
They're parakeets.
Son
I
siete.
think they're 7 or 6.
Thank you. Do any of the other panel members have any questions for them? Yes, Dr. Hammer.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Great. Really, my question is more for Autumn. For be a reckless owner, they have to have 3 violations in a 24-month period. I'm not sure how Autumn's counting the violations
So
to get.
it's 3 separate incidents of violation of the county code. So they don't all have to be the same. So there's the 4
Correct.
running at large on September 18th, 2024. There's the 1 for public nuisance on February 19th of 2025. And then there's the 2 running at large on April 11th. So that's 7 total and 3 separate incidences.
Okay, so even though they occurred on the same day, because they were different dogs running at large, correct?
Yeah. So the first incident would be the September 18th date. Even though there was 4, that's 1 incident. They're animals. Then again, the public nuisance in February, that's the 2nd incident. And then the April 11th was the 3rd incident, a violation of the county code.
And that's how, so you're not counting each individual dog as a separate incident. You're counting them as just grouped at different dates involving multiple animals. That's what I need to understand. Okay, great. Thank you, Autumn. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Dr. Hammer. Anyone else have any questions? Autumn?
Not really so much a question, but I understand that they said the money and all this other stuff, which I can understand. They the same thing was said at court on June 10th, and I would like to note that Judge Butcher made the note that they got the animals, they can afford the animals. I can also understand that they've started to get rid of some of the animals, but that doesn't stop that. For several years this has been occurring. The animals running at large, jumping over fences, chasing after people, chasing after animals. Every animal that's in that house besides the birds, cats and dogs, have all been in violation in some shape or form. So for me and for us here at the Department of Animal Services, if it was a financial situation, you wouldn't continue to get more animals. You wouldn't get another dog. I also know that at one point they were breeding. So that's another aspect into it. But the financial part of it, Judge Butcher did make the statement that it's your animals, it's your responsibility. You took on that responsibility when you got the animals and kept them. And just to know that the animals were getting out when they weren't at home leads me to know that those dogs have been out at 8 hours, 9 hours at a time by themselves, just jumping, causing havoc in the neighborhood and for neighbors until they got home or until somebody inside woke up. That's really the big thing that I wanted to add here is it's their animals. They need to take responsibility for what's happened. And, given how long this has been going on, she should not have any animals for the next 4 years.
Thank you.
And then we do have the 2 other neighbors for their testimony as well.
Yes. If there are no more questions
Here,
for
I
either
just want to
Autumn,
clarify. I have one quick question, I guess, for Ms. Montoya again. She says that they have 2 dogs that they plan on keeping, and there's some number of other dogs that are supposedly leaving today. I'd like to know in total how many dogs are at the home right now, as we're speaking right now.
so Lillian, can you answer his question?
Just 4.
So there's 4. So there's a 2 you're keeping, and you plan on 2 of them are being rehomed today, you say, correct?
Yeah, they are.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions from the panel? Okay, so we have Ms. Sellers and Ms. Davis as who want to speak. Ms. Sellers, are you okay if Ms. Davis goes ahead of you because she has a question?
Sure, that's fine.
Okay, thank you very much.
No problem.
Good morning, everybody. My question is because I don't know all the dogs' names, but I do know Princess, and I'm hearing they saying Princess is one of the dogs they wanted to keep, but Princess is one of the dogs that I have an issue with that I'm scared of, and that's one of the affidavits that I personally did a affidavit on Princess. So I'm not sure if they're actually going to keep her. I think that's what they said they were going to keep her, and another dog, but I'm not sure which dog they're going to keep. But Princess is a black one, and it's another tan big dog who is aggressive like Princess. And I have heard 2 little dogs. I don't know what they are, but I have heard some other dogs, but I haven't seen them.
Thank you. Lillian, can you answer Ms. Davis' question? Which dogs are you keeping?
Yeah, we want to keep Princess and Alacran. It's not the dad, it's the son. The dad is Scorpio. Scorpio already left. Alacran
Okay.
is the son.
And so what is the dog's name that you're going to keep and his description?
Princess, she's a black Labrador,
Okay.
and Alacran, he's tannish, lab mixed with a German Shepherd.
Okay, thank you. Thank
Sí.
you.
Y
Right,
creo
so
que no, pero bueno.
what did she say?
No, she was
Sí,
telling me
que
that.
estamos sí, porque por el mismo problema de que esta gente nos ha hecho que regalemos nuestros animales. Y realmente este segundo perro estamos pensando regalarlo.
Yeah. She was saying that we're well,
Por los
her,
problemas decimos.
her and my dad are thinking of giving away Alacran because of all the problems.
Porque no van a, porque se
Okay.
Yeah. She said
Okay.
that we're
Por los
probably
problemas
gonna
de
give
ellos,
him adoption.
pues solamente ellos son los de los problemas.
That's it.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Davis, do you want to go ahead and speak again?
Yes, and I will say this has been an issue over the past few years, and I just noticed it's gotten bad since Erin and her husband moved away, because we still keep in contact. I also have been talking to the mom and the daughter. They are very nice. So before we got to this point, I had always told them I'm a neighbor. We should be getting along, which we do. If I see the dog out, I try to let them know I see the dog out. But the husband is very nasty. He's very aggressive. And at this point, I'm scared to say anything to him because he's just aggressive. This issue could have been resolved probably a year ago if people just communicate and take control of their animals. I did not buy my house to sit here and be miserable and sit in my house, or when I'm leaving out my door to take my grandkids, which are toddlers, that's 2 and 3, to daycare. I have to keep looking back to make sure none of them dogs are going to hop the fence. I don't even park close to their fence. I always park 3 houses or 2 houses down. So in the event that I see those dogs, I can get in my car. Also, when they see me, the ladies, I will say, if the ladies see me outside, they will tell the dogs to go in the house, or they say it in their language, but the dogs to go in the house. Because I told her, them dogs can jump the fence. I cannot jump and run when I got 2 toddlers in my arms. trying to run to the car. But once again, I'm upset that Aaron had to leave because this street is a really good street. But them dogs running loose is a problem. And I refuse to sit here and be miserable in my own home that I have a 30-year mortgage on. And you can't talk to the neighbors to try to, address the issue. And at this point, if they don't, want to address the issues, and you have issue with dogs, that got somebody else to come there with 2 more dogs, that doesn't make sense.
Thank you,
That's all
Ms.
I have to say.
Davis. Do you have anything else to add?
No, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Then Ms. Setters, I'm sorry. If you will please tell us.
Sure. I just want to start off by addressing Miss Montoya mentioned that we were friends. I wouldn't say that we were ever friends, and I don't think that friends would put other friends' children in danger and not be proactive about making sure that they were safe. I also think that friends would not ignore each other if they knew that they had a problem and that it was imposing an unsafe environment on their friend. That's not even what a good neighbor would do, let alone a friend. I do feel that my husband, son, and I were ran out of our neighborhood. And I heard a lot about Miss Montoya mentioning her own financial struggles, not being able to afford her the fines in addition to food. So a lot of empathy for oneself, but no empathy for one's neighbors. And this is just a further testament that Miss Montoya and her family reside in their own bubble, and they don't seem to care about the quality of care of their animals or the people that surround their animals. Their approach to resolving this issue has been reactionary as opposed to proactive. Reactive and proactive is important because if someone is only going to get better when they are forced to financially get better, you're only going to make a change if you're going to be fined to do it. And then it's a pretty clear indicator that that person has no real desire or intention to change themselves permanently. It's just going to be every time they get caught and they're forced to, they might make a change. You hope that they might make a change. And my husband and I, we experienced our own financial stressors. That was our first home. We brought our baby back to that house. Tamiko is a good friend of mine. We had a good life there. That's where we established everything. But our family was built there. Our mortgage was very cheap. We had to sell our home in today's economy, which mortgage was $850, to spend, we had to pull out of my son's college fund to spend $400,000 on a new house. And now my mortgage is $2,000. I'm not sure where Miss Montoya thinks that somebody's feeling bad for me and paying for my mortgage now that I had to move because it was so unsafe to live around her. I am appalled to see the condition interior wise that the dogs were living in on a mattress in a dilapidated building. I saw how bad it was from the outside, the cars, the debris, the dogs being kept outside below freezing temperatures, no water, sitting on ice, no coverage other than apparently a mattress and a falling down shed. And I thought that it couldn't get worse, but apparently it can. And if you care about your animals, you wouldn't continuously adopt more. And if Miss Montoya planned on getting rid of these animals in the first place, then my question would be, why was the quality of care so bad during that time? Do you treat animals that you don't intend to keep poorly because they're not really your family? You don't really care? I don't know. Her dogs constantly, Princess is probably, sadly, one of the most aggressive dogs that I have ever personally met. Their gate is constantly left open. Princess has escaped from the yard, has chased me up the street. Miss Montoya's advice to me when Princess lunged at me outside of my own home was not to run because it would make her more upset. If an aggressive dog lunges at me, I'm running back to my house. So I ran in my house and I shut the gate. That isn't even safe enough because Princess can jump the fence. It doesn't matter the front yard, and if she gets out of the back gate, she can jump a standard 6-foot fence. I couldn't afford to put a privacy fence up just to keep her animals in because she refuses to take care of them. When Miss Montoya moved into that home, it had a beautiful landscape in the backyard. It took a matter of months for it to become completely dilapidated. How badly do you have to treat your animals in space to where your yard goes from grass to dirt? It goes from clean to piles of trash. No excuse is big enough to say that small dogs ripping up trash in the rain outside prevents you from cleaning up a literal junkyard in your backyard. It's just disrespect for animals and their neighbors and, quite frankly, themselves. And I'm totally disgusted and offended at the situation, so much so that I am voluntarily here today to testify that I agree that Miss Montoya should not own animals, probably ever if she continues to behave this way, but especially at least for the next 4 years. And I don't think that Princess deserves to be in that home, or any other dog or cat. The last thing I'll say is I worked with the county pretty frequently for feral cat population control. So I use my own money to feed feral cats. I pick them up and I take them to the vet and I bring them back. I do all of that as a volunteer. The amount of cats of Miss Montoya's that I was feeding because she was not putting them inside, the amount of calls that I had to make to animal control to pick them up because they were flea ridden, they were skin and bones, and they needed medical care, I had to force that to happen. She was not going to take care of her cats unless the county stepped in and said, you have to do it or you're going to have to pay us money. If the only thing that makes somebody respond and take care of their animals, themselves, and their space is making them financially responsible to do so, then they're probably not a good person to have pets because they're only going to be reactionary with their care. I feel very strongly about this, and I've continued to aid animal control in making sure that these animals have a safe and loving environment, and I do not believe that this home is it.
Thank you, Ms. Setters. Do you have anything else to add?
I think that that's it.
Thank you. Do any of the panel members have questions for Ms. Setters? Anyone have questions for any of the other parties in this case? In that case, we will go to deliberations then. Dr. Hemmer, do you have any comments?
Yeah, thank you, Jackie. There's a lot to unpack here. But when I distill down all the comments and the testimony, I thinking on a more global level, on a community-based mindset, that having her designated, Ms. Montoya designated as a reckless owner is probably an appropriate recommendation to make based on the environment that the animals are in, based on the testimony from the two witnesses, and regardless of what she's doing with the dogs, getting rid of them today, I don't think it's going to change the condition those dogs live in, the way she's going to handle those dogs. And I think it's going to create a problem for the dogs and for the local community. And for those reasons, I think we should uphold the reckless owner recommendation from the county.
Thank you. Tom, do you have any comments?
Yeah, I mean, basically, I echo what Dr. Hemmer said, and I really appreciate Ms. Setter's and even Ms. Davis's testimony. It sounds like a very bad situation for the community, and I tend to agree based on what I've seen and heard presented that Ms. Montoya is just not taking the proper care of these animals, and it's a tough thing to say, to take someone's animals away, but if you're given multiple opportunities to fix the situation, and again, if the money again is the driver of doing that, again, I fully believe that it's just not the right way to do things. So again, I would agree with Dr. Hemmer.
Thank you. Sergeant Evans, welcome to our panel, and thank you for being here. Do you have any comments?
Just that from what I've seen and heard today, in my mind, there's no doubt that
she should not own animals for at least the next 4 years. I
Thank you.
concurred with everything I've heard so far.
Nicole?
I believe Ms. Sutter's testimony was powerful. It's very unfortunate that she needed to leave the situation in the neighborhood. I've seen the videos and the evidence, and it's absolutely unacceptable that this has continued for a long history of years of recklessness. And I don't see, despite multiple animals leaving the home, I just don't see that if we do not uphold that things will get any better. I don't see any desire on the part of Ms. Montoya to remedy this, to become a good neighbor to those around her. So I believe we need to uphold.
Thank you. Autumn? If the commission decides to uphold the reckless owner, what are your next steps?
I forward the recommendation to the director.
Okay. And so do you have an idea of timing on when the animals would be picked up or turned into the shelter?
I do not, because there's, other procedures like the Board of Appeals. But that's, $250 itself to do. So she would either have to appeal or comply. If she doesn't do either, and she just keeps the animals, we would have to get a warrant to go to her house and take the animals.
Okay. I assume you'll give her the opportunity to willingly give them up.
Yes, of course.
Okay. All right. This is a little late question. Do we have a quorum?
Yes, we do.
Okay, thank you. In that case, then all those in favor, or I'm sorry, we need a motion.
I'd move
I
to
make a-
uphold. I was going to make a motion to uphold the.
Please go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, basically uphold the. What's the term we're using? I'm sorry. Uphold the
Reckless owner.
reckless owner. I don't want to say negligent owner. I'm sorry. Yeah, reckless owner citation or designation.
Thank you. In a second.
I'll second that.
Thank you. All those in favor of upholding the designation of reckless owner? Okay, looks like it's unanimous.
Right. If you are a participant in the case of Anne Arundel County Police Department versus, I really apologize if I say this wrong, Connaughton, please use the raise hand function, please. Okay. Promote, and then accept when I promote to panelist. And then I think the owner's having trouble, or hold on, let me see here. Mr. Murphy, are you able to get Gail back on?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, so unfortunately, she's, I think, a person that's like not very tech savvy. So you had indicated to me that you saw that she was on, and
Yes.
then I texted her to let her know that, and she didn't respond. And so then I called her, and I think somehow the process of my phone call to her and her answering it caused her to kind of lose. And she's not here at my office. She's in Rochester, New York. So had I anticipated that she would be, that untech savvy, I would have told her not to go to New York and just come here to my office. But unfortunately, I just didn't anticipate. I do like MVA hearings all the time with people getting on, Zoom, and I've never had anybody have any real trouble with it. She's the nicest woman. I feel horrible for her because she's really stressed about this.
Yeah. So
Excuse me.
so we prevent any testimony. This is Ms. Connaughton's lawyer,
Thank you.
Jackie. So I just didn't want to have any testimony given without swearing anybody in. I think Jackie, because he's her lawyer and she's retained him as a lawyer, that he can testify on her behalf, but she won't be here to answer any questions.
Yeah, and what I can do, I think what I can do, if she'll answer, what I may be able to do is just like, let me try one more time to see, because she would be like on my audio through the phone, you know? So that way she can also participate. I can explain. I'm familiar with the entire situation. So I would be able to, I've gone through her, the kind, I've gone through what kinds of things she'll need to explain today. And so I'm familiar with the whole thing. So I would appreciate if the board were willing to just let me explain it. But I might also, if she'll answer, just be able to get her on the phone. So let me see if she answers, and if not, then we'll proceed.
It's been forwarded to voicemail.
So it's not. I think she's afraid to answer it. Out of concern. Yes, sir. I'm sorry.
I've got a question for Autumn.
Yes.
When I'm looking through the evidence, when I'm looking at the appeal of impact and seizure of animal, as I'm reading through her narrative, there's a note there that says "see back," but I don't have the back page of whatever I'm supposed to see the back of.
Yeah, I don't
So
think
if
I've
you
ever
could get
seen
that,
that either.
if you get that,
Give me 1 second.
you can sort this matter out with Mr. Murphy. Just at some point, can we get that posted so we can see what's on the back? Thank you.
All right. Do you want to see, Mr. Murphy, if you can get her back on?
I did. I just tried, and the phone's not working. So I'm not really sure. I mean, when I've talked to her over the last, obviously when someone retains a lawyer, to help them with a situation, they're obviously really concerned about it. And she, has expressed to me
Excuse me, Mr. Murphy,
Yes.
excuse me, before you go on, Autumn, let's go ahead and get Mr. Murphy sworn in.
Okay.
So are we okay moving forward without Ms. Knotten here? Because the officer is here and her lawyer's here.
Do any of the panelists have any objection to moving forward? And does our legal consultant agree that we can move forward with Mr. Murphy?
Sandy Lammy's on, so let me see if I can message her real quick.
So
Sure.
we'll wait just a moment and see when we get back on that.
Very well. And obviously all of the information that I'll be giving will be like hearsay information from her, and the rules of evidence I was reading through the materials don't apply. And
All right,
hearsay
Mr. Murphy,
is
if
admissible,
you
so
can,
it should be okay.
excuse me, sir, if you can
Yes, ma'am.
wait to speak
course.
until we get this straightened out.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure he can testify on her behalf. So Sandy's gonna come on. Let me promote her. Miss Lammy, she is one of our attorneys. And then Officer Stark, if you could turn your video on, that'd be great.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't see any issues.
Okay. Thank you very much. And Autumn, if you will go ahead and swear everybody in on this case, please.
Okay. And then Officer Stark, if you could unmute yourself as well. Perfect. All right. Raise your hand. Right hand. Do you swear and affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Officer Stark?
I do.
Perfect. Officer Stark, if you could state your name and address for the record.
Bryant Stark, and it's going to be 35 Steppings Lane, Edgewater, Maryland, 21037.
And then Mr. Murphy, if you could state your name and address for the record.
Sure. It's Dennis Murphy. My office address is 1125 West Street, Suite 200, Annapolis, and the zip code's 21401.
I will turn that over to you, Jackie.
Thank you very much. So Officer Stark, if you will please start us off with explaining what happened that day.
Okay, so at about 1800 hours, I got a call for a animal locked in a vehicle at 85 Forest Plaza in Annapolis, Maryland, 21401. Upon arrival, I got there. I found a gold Lexus with the markings DI60LB. I found the dog, later known as Peanut, locked in the vehicle. I observed the dog was drooling, panting, and I observed the dog in distress. Before I got out of my cruiser, I noticed that the temperature outside was, from the reading I got, approximately 80 degrees. I attempted to locate the owner of the vehicle for approximately 30 minutes. I was unable to find her. I searched multiple stores around the area. I came back, decided to get the dog out of the vehicle, so I broke the driver's side front window to extract the dog out of the vehicle. Once I was able to get hands on the dog, I could tell the dog was further in distress just due to the body temperature on the chest and the belly of the dog. About that time, the owner actually arrived on scene, and I explained to her the situation, how the dog was in distress. I also did not observe any type of care for the dog. There was no water that I observed for the dog. The car was not running. When I felt the hood of the vehicle, I could tell that the car has not been running for some time. Also speaking with the complainant, she stated that she was on scene for approximately 30 minutes as well prior to calling police. Were you able to get all of that?
Yeah, thank you, sir. We have the video that was from that day. Did everybody in the panel get a chance to watch the video? And does anybody have any questions for the gentleman, for Sergeant? Yes, Dr. Hammer.
Yeah, the question I have, looking at the times on the two videos that we have, the first contact attempt body cam that we have goes approximately 16, 17 minutes. And then the second body cam goes 31, 32 minutes. Are those consecutive body camera footages, or are those concurrent body cam footages?
So I can actually go ahead and answer that for you. When there's multiple officers on scene, they have their body cameras on. So some of the view you have will be of Officer Stark going to each establishment to try to locate the owner, and then other parts would be the other officer who's staying with the car. So it's concurrent at the same time. It's just two separate officers' cameras.
Okay, so the officers were on scene with that dog for a little over 30 minutes. Can I make is that a correct inference that I can make on the
Yes.
body cams? Okay.
Yes,
All right. Thank you.
Any other questions for Officer Stark?
Can I ask
Yeah,
a couple? Oh, I'm sorry.
Officer Stark, what happened once you took possession of the dog? How did the dog, can you just run down what happened after you took possession of the dog until, I guess it was maybe taken to animal control?
Correct. So once I got possession of the dog, I evaluated the dog. We got the dog some water. I placed her in my vehicle where the AC was running to kind of help cool her core body temperature down. And then we did transport her to animal control or animal services.
Okay, thank you.
Officer Stark, what was the owner's reaction to you, or response to you?
He seemed very confused on what was happening. She stated that she was coming out every 30 minutes to check on the dog, which does not really correlate with what I've seen or was told. I explained to her that it's approximately 80 degrees outside. It was hot regardless. It was extremely hot that week. The vehicle was off, and the severity of that. She did state it was her emotional support dog, which, in my opinion, would be more reason for the dog to be with her, not in the vehicle. But she did not. She didn't seem to connect those, connect that together. She was upset. Her and my partners kind of got into it. I tried to just explain to her calmly the situation, the severity of it, that it does not take long for a dog to expire or die in a vehicle that's off. And then we kind of went from there. I explained to her that I was taking the dog to animal control, one, to get evaluated to make sure the dog is not, not dying, and two, because she left the dog in the vehicle.
I have another question. Do you you mentioned that there was a complainant? Was the complainant there when you arrived? And anything you can tell me about that? The call. How all that transpired.
So she was not on scene when I arrived. She just stated that she stayed there for approximately another 30 minutes before she even called the police, and did not see the owner come out to the vehicle one time. That's pretty much all I got from Miss Carrera.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Besides Mr. Murphy, does anyone else have any questions for Officer Stark? In that case, Mr. Murphy, if you want to ask your questions and go ahead and tell us what you know.
Okay, just one or two questions for the officer. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Yeah, so I take it in this shopping center, is there a restaurant called Jalapenos? Do you recall? Are you familiar with the shopping center?
I am. There's a few restaurants, I believe. Is that the it's like a buffet, I believe.
No, it's not. It's a few doors up from that buffet, closer to the main road that's there
Okay.
coming in. So as you pull into the facility, it's immediately on the right-hand side there. And that's approximately where the car was, I assume. I'm just trying to establish that the vehicle was in some proximity to the restaurant that my client had come from.
So the vehicle, so it's a very large parking lot. So, but
Yes.
it was approximately center. It was hard to kind of pinpoint what store or restaurant maybe they went into. I went to the closest. I went to about approximately 5 or 6 different stores looking
Okay.
for her.
Do you know whether or not you went into a restaurant called Jalapenos?
Don't believe so.
Okay, that's fine. And when she came out of when you first had interaction with her, was there any other person with her?
Not
Or-
at first. It was just her in the beginning.
Right. And then eventually did another person show up on scene?
Correct.
Okay, yeah. All right. And then you say that the person that you spoke to that had called the police, she indicated that she'd been there for about 30 minutes or so, approximately.
Correct.
Okay. All right. And I think that's all I have. I think everything else is fairly, straightforward. So thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, yeah. So I just wanted to confirm that what she had told me was corroborated by what the officer told or observed, which is why I asked him those questions. But Ms. Connaughton indicated to me that she's had this dog for some period of time. I can't remember exactly how long. She said she's had the dog. It is like an emotional support animal for her, she says. She typically takes very good care of the dog. She has vet records, to like establish all of that. And what happened that evening is that she and her friend, who was with her, who was the lady that showed up, and I think this is important. That's why I asked him specifically, whether or not there were two people that came, or whether or not at first, or whether or not it was just one, because that corroborates what she told me. And what she told me is that the two of them had gotten to the restaurant, that it's a place that they go to fairly frequently. She's a very, it's a very nice Spanish restaurant. I've been there once myself. They have a helpful staff. She said when they first got there, she went in and she got a cup of water and she brought it out to the dog because she knew that the dog was going to be in the vehicle for a little while they had dinner. So she said that she, had a little cup and that she got from the maitre d' of the restaurant. If we eventually have to go to district court on this, I'll make sure that, we subpoena those people so that they can come and corroborate all of this. But that she basically, gave the dog some water. And then they went back in and to the restaurant, had some, appetizers and a few things. And she said that it was about 30 minutes, and that's what she told the officer and what's in the police report. So who knows? I mean, I don't know if, that estimate was of 30 minutes was really 25 from the witness, or whether or not my client's thinking was that it was actually 35 minutes, before she, went back out. But what they did is once said she finished like, whatever appetizer they had after they had gotten, and I guess that's about how long it takes to go into a restaurant and order an appetizer and then have them bring it and then finish it. She went back out to make sure everything was okay with the dog. And that's when she encountered the officer who just testified. And so I think that's important that she was by herself, because that confirms that she was just going out to make sure that the dog was okay, and then planned on making sure that, everything, go back in and finish their dinner. She tells me that it was warm that day, but it wasn't as hot as it had been that week. That I think the officer's estimate of 80 degrees is about right. That it had rained and that it was cloudy when they went into the restaurant. I don't know, how much, of all of that, but that it wasn't like, the blazingest hottest day. And she wasn't like overly concerned that the dog was going to, have any problems. And I think it is correct that how dogs get when they get warm, their tongues come out, and the officer, explained all of that. And so she, tells me that she feels badly about that. And the other thing that she tells me is that, she was upset when this happened because, the car, window, all the glass had been shattered all over. And, she was, upset that the dog might have gotten some glass on it and all of that. But she understands. That was her initial reaction. Okay. But she understands that the police officer was just doing what he had to do under the circumstances. She tells me that the car was like not that far from the restaurant. She got the closest parking spot that she could to the restaurant that they were going to, and that they didn't go there for anything else. So, unfortunately, and I know this officer did the very best he could to try to find her. But, she was saying to me that if anybody had come in and said, hey, is anybody driving a whatever color the vehicle was, that she obviously would have, gone out and taken care of it. The most important thing is that she told me that she's learned from this and that she understands that this is just like whenever it's the slightest bit warm, and it's just a bad idea to leave a dog in a vehicle anyway. About 6 months ago, I actually started driving a Tesla, and it actually has like a dog mode thing on it. And I told her, that if she was ever going to do that, that's something that she could consider doing. I do it all the time just for myself when I park. There's a camp mode and a dog mode, and I can't tell the difference between them. But it's a way when a vehicle is powered by gasoline, you can't leave the car on without the risk of carbon monoxide. So with a vehicle that's not an electric vehicle, there's not much that you can do other than bring the dog with you. And they should have made the choice. She understands this. She told me that she understands they should have made the choice not to have dinner, that they should have just gone home. So she gets that, and she understands that the police officer, under the circumstances, just did everything that he had to do in order to, deal with. The other option of just leaving the dog in there indefinitely wasn't, obviously anything that made any sense. And I do think that it is interesting that she did come back around that time. So the timing on this was just, I think, in some ways a little bit, unfortunate, because it was just minutes, after he had broken into the vehicle that she ended up coming back. So in any event, I think the fact that they were near a restaurant and the fact that she came back by herself, she was coming out to check on the dog. What this demonstrates, I think, is that she exercised bad judgment. And this was just, but she didn't have any intention to harm the dog. I know I saw the term, cruelty, and I looked up all the different regulations and all of that. And, she wasn't trying to be cruel to the dog. What she did was she made a really bad decision, which, she would acknowledge if she were here. And that, unfortunately, and she's been stressed. I mean, she had to go to New York. She usually has a way to be able to travel with the dog. And she's, by herself, and it was a family thing that she had to go to that she couldn't avoid. And in any event, I guess the main thing that she would explain is that she's learned from this, and this isn't going to happen again. And she seems like a very nice person that's never been in any trouble. She's never had any other prior problems with the dog. As I indicated, she cares for the dog, has proper veterinary care and all of that. And with that, we would just, ask for, you to take all of that in consideration, when you make your decision in the case. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy. Autumn, will you pull up, please, one of the videos, just the beginning of it, so I think there we can see the proximity of the car to the restaurant. We can get an idea on that and confirm it.
1 second.
Thank you.
So to the left is her vehicle, the tan vehicle.
Yeah.
Looks like
Yeah.
it's in front of like a Dollar General, some stuff
Yeah,
like that.
and the Jalapenos restaurant is like immediately looking straight. I
Yes.
can't. I've been there and I've dined there myself, so I know I'm not exactly sure which of those, whether or not it's possibly blocked by the cars on the left, is what I'm thinking visually. But that's and then immediately, and the officer could confirm this, immediately behind the black Jeep there, or the black vehicle, is the main road that comes in. So when you drive in, you would see these vehicles on the right, and that's where the restaurant is, right there with that in one of those spaces underneath that green roof that you see.
Thank you. Thank you, Autumn. Do any of the panel members have any questions for Mr. Murphy? In that case, we will go to deliberations then. Thank you, Mr. Murphy, for
Yes,
being
ma'am. Thank
here.
you.
I do want to remind you, though, Mr. Murphy, that as we are discussing cruelty cases, the commission is not voting now to return the animal to the owner right away. If we vote for the owner to have the animal back, Ms. Coffin will have to wait until her district court case is adjudicated.
Yes, ma'am. And she did explain that to me. And I'm familiar with the state's attorney's office. I practice criminal law in Anne Arundel County. So I would know who to call, what assistant state's attorney to call to facilitate that, to get an earlier court date and all of that sort of thing if we need to. So I appreciate that information, and I'm ready to
Okay.
the next step, and I would ask obviously, that the board, consider voting to have the under all of the circumstances, for her to be able to get the animal back. And she's given every assurance that, there won't ever be any, kind of a problem like this ever again. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, so we will go on to deliberations now. So do any of the panel members have any comments? Nicole?
I think it's important to be clear that what's before us is she was appealing the impoundment. So we are going to make sure that we adjudicate whether the impoundment was warranted or not. So with that, I watched all of the body cam videos for the duration of both. And when the owner came out, her nonchalant attitude about the fact that the dog was left in the car in 80 degrees, in an 80-degree day. I mean, the windows weren't even cracked. Not that that makes a huge difference, but the fact that she really didn't see a problem with her actions was appalling to me. I obviously, as Mr. Murphy stated, the officers were doing what they should do, what they needed to do in order to ensure that the dog was not overheated, not about to die. She may have learned from this situation, but it doesn't change the facts of the case and what happened. In my opinion, the impoundment was warranted and we should uphold.
Thank you. Dr. Hemmer, could you take a moment, please, and explain for the rest of us on the panel the dangers at 80 degrees in a car?
Yeah, I this time of year I'm having this conversation on a regular basis with my clients that come in, and kind of the simplest way I explain it to people that they seem to understand is go home, get out of your summer garb, and put on a thick pair of wool socks, a sweatsuit, a hoodie, and gloves, and then go outside. That's basically what your dog's doing. We exchange heat through our mouths, we sweat, we perspire. Dog doesn't do that. All the dog does, the only heat exchange mechanism the dog has is its mouth and its tongue. And so it's very common and very easy for these dogs to heat stress and then subsequently heat stroke out on as cool a day as 80, if you consider 80 cool. These guys in 15 minutes to 20 minutes will be heat stressed, if not worse. And I did in fact watch the videos in total, both of them. And that dog was without a doubt heat stressed being in there for that long. And I agree with Nicole, not even the windows were cracked. Not even the windows were cracked. It wouldn't have made that much difference, but at least it would have, in my opinion, it would have shown some forethought for concern for the dog. And I guess that's what probably sticks in my mind the most with the testimony that I've heard today is that I'm not concerned how much concern this owner has for the dog. It's an emotional support dog, but here she is, something that's that important to her. She's not here to testify or give us her the way she saw things. But I'm digressing at this point. Does anyone have any questions about heat stress or heat stroke? And it's pretty straightforward, at least from my side of the table. I think the officer acted well within his rights and was appropriate, and I think the seizure was warranted and indicated.
Thank you, Dr. Hemmer. Does anyone else on the panel have any comments or questions? Then can I have a motion, please?
I make a motion that we uphold the seizure of the pet Peanut as legitimate and warranted.
I second.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you very much. All those in favor to uphold the impoundment of Peanut? Thank you. That looks to be unanimous. Thank you very much, everybody. Autumn, what other business do we have?
We just need to vote on last month's meeting minutes, with the exception of Sergeant Evans. You weren't there, so you just pretend you don't exist right now. Everyone else, I need to make a motion to uphold those minutes.
I make a motion to approve the minutes as written.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Second. Thank you. All those in favor? And that is unanimous, other than Sergeant Evans, who was not involved in that one.
Mhm. And then before we adjourn, I wanted to make note that we are now officially the Department of Animal Services. So we're our own little entity in the same building, but we still get lots of love from across the street. As you can see, Sergeant Evans is here, so it's good times.
Yes.
And then, no, all we gotta do is make a motion to adjourn, and we'll see you in August.
I have a question. The introduction slide that comes up at the beginning of our meetings.
I need to change it.
It has the police office, the police badge. Will we change that now for animal services?
Yeah, I noticed that as it was up. I was like, oh, it's okay though. Like, well, just some forgiveness this time. It won't be that way next time.
It's okay. It takes time to get into the changes and catch up with everything.
Yeah, I just can't let go. Can't let go of my PD friends.
Well, we will not let go of them at all by any means. Thank you, Sergeant Evans. And if Sergeant Stark is still around, thank you very much. And thank you, everybody. Does anybody have any other business or comments or anything? Hope you all had a great 4th and see you in August.
Motion to
Make a
adjourn.
motion, we
I'm
adjourn.
sorry. We do need it.
And I
I'll
make
get
a
caught
motion
up
to
too.
adjourn or second.
I'll second, and we're good.
Thank you. All those in
Okay.
favor?
Have a nice night. Day.
Great.
Everybody have a
Have
great month. See y'all in
month.
August.
Take
Bye,
care.
Be
y'all.
well.
Thank you.